Thank you. Ko te ara rangi te a tohono o te ko tēnei. Tuia naha na Karakia, tuia kia nata te rere, tuia kaha nahi te whakatonga, he whakarere tuhu me he hapori. Humie huye tai.
Well, welcome to the meeting. It seems odd with my first meeting, but welcome to you guys. It's well, firstly, thank you, Jerry, and Helen that you saw through me and set up to be okay. It's great to be here, and to pick up the role as chair of risk assurance. Sorry, it'll be a bit of a voyage of discovery for me, as much as it's a voyage of discovery for you. I'm very encouraged by what I've read in the agenda, which gives us a good basis to be a good audit committee. So that's great, Dave. If you have trouble thinking you might go to sleep with an audit and risk committee, don't worry, we'll keep you awake. And actually, I do think, I think this was something that probably I talked about with Gary. Okay, this committee needs to be one that is useful for your general governance bodies. So somewhere in the course, not tonight, but in the course of this, we will want to check in. This is actually adding value to the overall governance council, and we'll talk about it a wee bit further on. But at this stage, thank you that you've allowed me to be here, and it's great to meet you guys. I think we should probably get ourselves going. We're into it. Apologies. Well, Matt, who I don't know, but we need to sustain this apology. Everybody else can thank you, Dave. In a second, please. Thank you, Helen. We'll put the motion all over, please say aye. Aye. Against. Brilliant. Any matters coming up that you need to note your interest for? No? In sort of getting a meeting today with Fiona, I'm thinking that I'd done everything. The one thing I hadn't done was actually informing you know. So Fiona has them now, but I think I would just like to note three of them because they're sort of they're not relevant in the sense of they affect my ability, but I do chair, I think, 13 risk committees. That's neither here nor there really, other than two of them happen to be nearish here. One is Kapiti Coast and the other is South Wairarapa. I note that for only the reason that they are close in proximity. I also needed to note, it was only when I read the transformation Te Aki-wai that I do hold a current consulting contract with Te Aki-wai. Can I say, if I was a consultant, it's not one that I say this publicly, it's not been overly activated by them. I've provided a wee bit of advice around the audit service with the audit office, and also I have provided commentary on the audit and risk committee. The contract finishes at the end of next month, and at this stage, I don't think it's been exercised between now and then. So, what it's worth, I don't think it certainly doesn't. I don't feel in any way that I'm placing us at risk, as particularly we consider the paper later in this meeting. So those are my most relevant interests in the fullness of time. You'll see the full disclosure, I guess, in the minutes somewhere. Fiona is. I don't think we've got any public ears to talk to us. Again, welcome again. It's nice to have you here, and appreciate you chance to catch up earlier this morning. And we look forward to working with you as we go through the process. So we might as well rip straight into the agenda as far as I can see. Yeah, I just get it, make certain I can find it, which would be a hang of a good start. Oh, okay. Oh, Debbie. Oh, sorry. I was going to wait till we got to the debenture, but Debbie, you did ask that perhaps you could just give us a sense that what was last year Audit New Zealand is now the Audit Office, and some of the changes that you've been going through. I wonder, thank you, it would be a good time. Why don't you tell us what's happening at the stage, rather than just leave it to the debenture trustee.
Sure, righto. Thank you very much for the opportunity to talk today. Appreciate it. So on the 30th of April this year, things have slightly changed. the Office of Auditor General, as per Audit New Zealand, have basically combined into one and now are referred to as the Audit Office. What has really changed is just basically bringing everything under one umbrella. With that, we've got a new name and we've had a new branding. This change fits in with our new strategic direction, where it's just modernizing the practice and this is the way we're moving forward. What does this mean for your guys' council? There is no change. The team still stays the same. I'm still appointed auditor. Only thing you can really expect is, instead of looking for two websites, you find one website, and then on any piece of paper that you'll get from us, won't no longer say Audit New Zealand, or say the One Office. This definitely brings a more cohesiveness together. It basically brings efficiencies, and it's a nice way of working together underneath one umbrella. So that's where we're placed, and that's where we're moving to at this point in time.
Thank you, Phil. Any comments or observations Phil might have on it? So as I said to Debbie this morning when we were just talking about this, I actually, of course, have been an auditor in the past. When I started, it was called Lever Office before it broke away. So full circle one way or the other, but for good reason. And I've heard it directly from the Auditor General about why he's valued the rejoining. So certainly, Debbie, I hope it works for you all, and we look forward, as I said, to your service. Thank you for that. Can we move to the first standard item, which is the Treasury Risk Management Report, please, Sarah? Thank you. Is that right?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, evening all. So the first report we have is the Treasury report. In summary, this is a report that provides you information on our most recent Treasury activities within Council. This covers the period up to the 31st of March. There is largely no real substantive change from the last time that we did this reporting to the Audit Risk Committee in February. We still have an instance of one non-compliance, and we are still working through the TRQI debt transfer. But otherwise, I'll take it as read. Is there any questions?
Right, it's a clear report, and obviously you're confirming a bit of what's happened from the past. Any questions? Yes, Perry.
And what's the latest forecast in relation to the net debt to revenue ratio post local water?
Sorry, through you, Chair. From memory, in the annual plan, I think we're at 143%, but I can confirm for you. I think it's 143. It's definitely in our annual plan 26-25.
So there hasn't been much movement in that in relation to.
Not yet. Sorry, through you, Chair. No, whilst with the debt transfer is still moving at this point, we don't have a finalised debt number that is moving. It's still forecast.
So our net debt will move from 183 to 143.
Yes. Yes.
Quite okay. That's interesting. I mean, obviously, yes. Sorry, how long have days?
Thank you, through you, Chair. To you, Sarah, with regard to our out of compliance and non-compliance, I know that we've reported on that, and I know that that's all to do with the transfer of Te Aki Wai. So in the timeline that Te Aki Wai has given us with regard to 60 days after we accept and then the 18 months, when do you think we will come back into compliance?
Through you, Chair, once we have the final debt numbers, we will look to remedy the non-compliance quite quickly.
Okay.
Like Mike Shelley did say at the last meeting, we could do it today if we wanted to, but there isn't really any point until we finalise that number.
And that would be within the 60 days after, in the timeline where we get our audit from Audit New Zealand, or from March, sorry.
Yeah, through you, Chair. So so we have the first debt numbers that we are forecasting currently that they will take from the 1st of July. We then have the 15 days post-audit. Hopefully not speaking out of school, but I would say that we will look to remedy some of this in July once the numbers are done.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Chair.
A couple of questions. Just on 33, the liquidity policy compliance is 110%, and we are rating at 117. Where would we like that to be? Would we like that to be
Through you, Chair, we want it to be over 100%. So we're anything over 100%, 100% is compliance.
Yeah. We would like to be higher. How much higher?
Through you, Chair, I guess it's a balancing act. I guess you don't want to be shown to have too much cash on the books.
Yeah.
So I guess we have been largely sitting at quite a bit higher as of recent years in annual reports. I mean, comfortably, we are comfortable with 117%. We are compliant and we have cash in our bank accounts.
The other question's on new loans on 37. The 5 million, what was that for?
Yes, through you, Chair. The 5 million is just to cover our budgeted 25-26 capital program. So we're drawing down debt as that capital program is being spent. So it'll cover things like roading, parks, waters.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Through you, Chair, just one more question and I apologise. It's with regard to para 19 on page 6. And it's just around Standard and Poor's. So it says a positive outlook means that there is at least 1 in 3 likelihood of an upgrade. And that's because of the conversations that we've already had with Standard and Poor's, Sarah? Or is that just knowing the way we've tracked to date that it's looking positive that that's what's going to happen?
Sorry, through you, Chair. Sorry, I was rereading it.
I can answer that for you, Sarah. It is a mix of the annual review that occurred last year.
Yes.
And we have had subsequent conversations with S&P due to the TRQY takeover of debt, etc.
Right.
And in those conversations, S&P have told us that they are neutral on Upper Hutt. There is nothing Upper Hutt has done this year that takes them away from that neutrality. So that neutrality means that the positive outlook of 1 in 3 holds. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Thank you. Thank you, Sarah.
I think that S&P are an important factor in our thinking.
They are.
We'll have to consider in terms of constraint going forward of the what am I thinking? The old TP.
Yes.
You'll have to think about it as far as you go. The other, must confess, I had a slight laugh when I was reading the interest rate risk, which is compliant until it's not compliant.
Yes.
That was actually really good. Look, I think that's fine. It's reasonably clear. So if we go to the resolution, which is that we note the contents, I think it's implicit that we recognise that there is a level of non-compliance here. It does sound negative, but we understand the reasons why. And actually, as we track towards 1 July, the risk that we get hit by an interest rate movement that significantly affects us, which after all is why we have the thresholds, is marginalised. So in fact, I think we just need to recognise it. As I say, it's non-compliant, but the chances of it having a crack at us is pretty low, I would have thought. Okay, so the motion is that we note the contents. Still going to move in a second, please. Thank you, Barry. Thank you, Gibbon. Appreciate that. For the motion, all those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Yes, it's carried. Thank you. Sensitive expenditure report. I suspect that's you and me.
Yep, through you, Chair, youth fit me. So short and sweet, the sensitive expenditure report is just giving you an update of the activities that are within the sensitive expenditure policy. It's a very straightforward report. The attachment at the back just highlights some of the areas of expenditure that we think falls within the sensitive expenditure policy that you should be aware of.
Comments? Yes, Barry.
This is for you.
Okay.
If that's okay.
Can you call me Bruce? I'm pretty informal. You've probably guessed it already. I'm happy to call Bruce, by the way, rather than you. But whatever.
I'm happy with informal. I was curious to see your opinion on whether these, in terms of what we've included of the expenditure, the nature of the entries, are they relatively consistent with what you're seeing in other places? Are we?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes, and the short answer, Perry, is yes. And in fact, I think quite modest. If I can say so. So I wasn't too exercised by what I saw. In answer to your question, because it is consistent with the sorts of things that I see, and secondly, you know, the amounts are reasonable for a city, to be honest. So, yeah, I was very comfortable. Doesn't say we shouldn't take our eye off the ball, if I can put it that way, but I wasn't too worried. Was anything you that worried you? Can I return the question, period?
No, I just wanted to make sure that it was consistent. I mean, given,
Yeah.
I guess it was more so the nature of the entries whether you can do what we were.
You know, and probably somewhere down the track, I'll be keen to understand further, you know, our policy guidance around sensitive expenditure. I presume we're consistent with where Debbie said. I think you say that in the report, and it's really just how we guide staff. But there's nothing here, in my view, that would suddenly say, "Oh, gee whiz, this doesn't look like a try." So no, I'm comfortable. So we don't need to move the paper, does it? Any other discussion, Dave? Oh, you're seconding. Brilliant. Oh, you're the man. Okay, so we're going to note the report. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Yes. Thank you very much. Righty, strategic risk management report. Now, I think we need to spend a bit of time on this. Can I say that? I don't want to sound like a prolonged meeting. This is clearly the outcome of a really, obviously, a good workshop that you've both had on the 28th of April or thereabouts. And it's really quite exciting. It's exciting. Can I say that, Dave? You're excited, I hope. I feel pretty excited. This is a great set of papers for us to work through, but I think we need to give it a wee bit of attention as we go through it. So let's rip into it and see what we get to.
Thank you, Bruce. This paper brings you forward the outcomes of the recent strategic risk workshop that you had on the 28th of April, and it just seeks the risk and assurance recommendation through to council to adopt the updated strategic risk management framework and its supporting components. We have 4 attachments with this paper. In essence, the paper is just, and the risk updates are just about strengthening how council identifies, assesses, escalates and monitors its strategic risk. So the governance oversight is clear and the risk reporting is consistent and useful for governance and decision making. It is quite a big paper. There is a lot to it. Most of the red are all the changes that were suggestions, discussion that took place on the 28th of April. So we are looking to check that we have captured what was this discussion was at the risk workshop, that you are happy with the risk and how we worded them. They are quite meaty statements in some of the risks that we have now. We added a couple of risks based on the discussion that was had at the workshop. We also are looking to seek your recommendation that you're happy with the deep dives that we have proposed in attachment 4, I believe. We're looking to do 4 deep dives every risk and assurance meeting. So we are just checking that you're comfortable that with the proposed risks that were picked largely just in the environment that we're in. They're all quite topical at the moment, but happy to be led by your preference. Thank you.
I think so, Sarah. And looking, obviously, this is a bit of the transition thing. I believe they will be part of the April meeting. So I think you folk will be ahead of me on this one. Unless people want to make any general comments, what I'd like to suggest is we just go through the appendices and just field any comments, updates, because the motion does allow us to say there could be some consequential minor amendments to the whole process. So perhaps, unless there's any broad over comment anybody would like to make, perhaps we can then go to the first appendix, which is the risk management framework. Any other no broad comments? We're okay. Let's go to the risk management framework, which is obviously the guide onto how we're going to work risk inside the organisation, with the importance that it be through the organisation. And with that, I mean, it does sound trite, but with us setting the tone, and this is one of the ways we can do it. So, folks, do we have questions or comments on the risk management framework? Yes,
Bruce, just on, I totally agreed if we go through each attachment, and I've got a couple as we go through the pages, but just on the very first one, knowing that we've kind of just landed or will land this, depending on the outcome of today, is the review on the very first page, December 2026, too soon, knowing that we will be doing it again from the LTP? Just a question
Sorry,
that's.
which,
So on the very first page
of the risk of
of the
framework?
risk
Oh,
management framework, where it's got, yeah, I was just thinking, the next review date, considering that should we adopt this with whatever amendment in my minutes, is December too soon, knowing that we were going to be doing it again when we go out for consultation on the LTP long-term plan? It's just a question.
Well, perhaps Sarah said you had comments there, Sarah. It seems too soon to me. I mean, I would like to think that we've given this a pretty good review. It would stand for the training, to be honest. I would think for 3 years' time, we want to review the risk management framework as in contrast to the annual need to review our risks.
Absolutely.
And indeed our risk appetite.
Yeah.
So
So
if it means that latter, well, if it's next year we need to do it. But if it's the actual framework itself, this should stand, I would have thought, for the training. But Kate, your views, I'll be corrected. Happy to be corrected.
Yeah, 1.6, Chair Sarah Kate.
So I take, Sarah and I did this together,
Yes.
so everyone knows. So the logic here was, and it's for your choice.
Yeah.
The logic was exactly that. It was building something that feeds into the long-term plan.
Yeah.
So if it doesn't need to build to feed in, it's your call, because it's whether it's comfortable to continue.
Yeah.
So it's completely a thought,
Right.
and there's no preciousness behind it. I think what we've got here is robust enough
Yes, I agree.
that we maybe don't need to reopen it. But that's my take. But being conservative, we've sort of opened the door. Does that make sense?
It does, and through you, Chair, that's the only reason why I put there was that it was a robust discussion that was had at the workshop. 1.6 says that it is, the RMF will also be reviewed after an adoption of an LTP, and that which is what we're already going through. That I just thought that, knowing that we're, not under resourced, but our officers are pushed.
Yeah. So what date would you have there?
I would leave it until the LTP, because we're going to be doing that next year.
Yeah. So
Absolutely.
essentially it would be July.
Yes. Yes, Chair.
So July 2027.
Yes. Please.
I think, to me, that's more about actually reviewing the risk appetite statements, or what our strategic risk statements were as included. I think what I'm trying to say is the bulk of the framework. It's not changing much when you read it. It's not a read of the Sarah. But equally, one would hope that our approach to risk governance is relatively consistent, even though the underlying things like the LPP would change. Where we need to be thinking more strongly about the relevance of the strategic risk framework.
So sorry I just need to understand something, because if we're doing the LTP process now,
Yes.
July 27 will have the new LTP underway. So are you
It's just prior to that.
which was the logic of December, was sort of
Okay.
in that type of discussion and workshop space, thinking about your appetite and your frameworks for risk to include into the LTP thinking.
Right.
So that's why we had gone to that place, because working with Gunther and his team, it sort of fits with what outcomes and activities you're after and what's your appetite, sort of thing. So that was the logic, because it fitted for that time. So
Okay.
And through you, Chair, I now that that's been explained, I get that, because there are enough checks and balances in the other attachments when we get to those that will actually pick up any inconsistencies. So, okay. Happy with the December.
So happy with December.
Yeah.
And thanks for that clarification too, Kate, because actually, as we try and live with these risk appetite statements, we need to have a look at that December. going to use that as an effective input to the prioritisation. Take me through it when it comes to the LPP. Okay, that's better understood then. That's wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you for the question, Helen. Any other thoughts? That's got us to page 1 of the risk management framework. You go.
Through you, Chair, I'd now like to go to page 30, if anyone else has. And it's just the very first, it doesn't make sense to me, but maybe I'm reading it wrong. Elected members and cannot be delegated. That's what I thought. Yeah. So I just thought I'd bring that up. Yeah, got the word. Sorry. Thank you.
Should we just go through yours, Helen, or like? No, sorry, no trouble. I'm just saying, if I go through almost a page turner, but maybe that others.
I'm sorry, that does make sense. I just, if you read it, while accountability for good governance resides with the elected members and cannot be delegated, specific risk management responsibilities, etc. Does make sense.
I apologise. I read it as just as page 30 without taking it from the previous.
I do the same.
Yeah, because I read that and I go, oh.
So it's going to get seriously comment about me.
Well, we can go through Councillor Spurl's questions.
All right, Helen, you go.
I just want, on page 34, I've got a reference to see page 41, and it's about frequency, the third line defence, audit, and so when I read it, the second line of defence managers and team leaders, and then the third line, it was just about the frequency. And then I went to see page 41, which talks about how to use the framework. And it's under the review, the leadership team must review and update their risk at least annually. So, sorry, you've got a table on 34 about, which is about our 3 lines of defence. Yeah, you've got it there, Kate. And then looking at everything that you've got there, I then kept on reading the paper and I realised that if I went to page 41, which is all in red.
Yeah.
And it's the leadership team must review and update their risks at least annually or when material changes occur. Should that be somewhere in the third or second line that it's referred to, or is it okay that it comes back later in the document is really what I'm asking. Because in page 41, it's about how to use this framework. But in 34, you've got the 3 lines of defence, and I was just wondering if that part of how often you should review those lines of defence was just a question.
Through Bruce, they should work together. I'm happy to take it away if they don't.
It was only that with regard to time.
Think about it.
I'll think about it.
Think about it in terms of geography. I mean, for me, the 2.3 Helen was stating principle.
Yeah.
What they do, 41 has got how they go about implementing principles.
Yeah.
And perhaps I'd actually look here for what's effective for bureaucrating from straight management side gets the message across. Thanks, Helen. Good observation. You go.
No, that's me. I'm
Right.
quite happy with everything else.
Gary, I think you might have something.
Yes, I do. Through you, Chair. I have a question around for Kate around the authorization thing of the risk management framework in relation to so at the moment we have not had a chance to review our CO KPIs, which we will do and embed this into that, but just thinking around in the interim as an acting capacity, how can we what's your thinking around ensuring that it's embedded through ELT into the organisation? Because as I understand it, you know, in every organisation there's always kind of areas where risk is more embedded and there's areas where it's less.
Through Bruce, we're still maturing as an organisation. I think I'll open with that statement. I think this framework has served governance well, and I think where to operationalise matters, we take things into all meetings. One of the opening agenda items is risk.
Yeah.
And that goes through all to ELT and to the wider leadership team. We did do, when we last reviewed this, we did do a workshop with ELT and I'm trying to remember 2024, I think it was, when we were down at the NZCIS building, to take it to an operational level. And I think we could work to improve on that. And we do have in mind that when I return to my day job, we'll do an operational ELT meeting on exactly this. And it's about, the aim of it is to embed it more into, I'll point to my colleagues in the back row, into the business rather than having it as a standalone framework. And we've been trying to do that a little bit more as we progress. So the discussions are about what's the main thing that's going right, what's the main thing going wrong, what are you doing about it, mitigation, sort of things like that. So it's sort of asking those questions, but we do need to do work at the operational level to ensure ourselves and how we keep that risk. But I can give council reassurance that risk and health and safety are both standing items on our. Does that answer?
It does, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Look, I probably just want to reinforce something from Sarah and it's, you know, it's just been saying, it's good stuff to good risk governance as well as risk management. So I liked the emphasis on the idea of risk acceptance, which is actually that should be it should be an action that is taken that we accept or we don't accept risk. Which means that actually we need to know, you know, we need to do some hard thinking both at this committee and I would also suggest particularly at ELT. Okay, so I'm just trying to find the page where that was. It was back up right at the start. So I'm only emphasising a really good point that is made within here, which automatically got on side with the strategy. So sorry, with the framework. So that's good. And actually, look, I think I'm just, I don't think I need to emphasise. Oh, there was just one thing. When it comes to, for instance, I'm looking at section 4.3 escalation and acceptance pathway. So I was in an acceptance mode here. I totally agree that if we've got an extreme risk, council itself should be the decision maker as far as that's concerned. My presumption is that with any sort of escalation process, they would have the benefit of our advice though. Okay, does that go with this table? You know, in other words, it says council decision required and it's on the extreme purple. But I would presume the decision they make would come with a recommendation of the Audit and Risk Committee.
That's the intention of that.
Yeah, that's what I presume is the case. I just wanted to make certain that was the case. It doesn't require a change as long as that's the method by which it would get to council.
Yeah, and that's what we're trying through to you, Bruce. That's the word escalation. We're trying to get that's there.
Yeah. And actually, I also like. Sorry, and I did find it's on page 39 of our agenda where it says risk acceptance should only occur. That's what I really liked about this as well, which is quite deliberate in the way we should be thinking about do we accept the risk. Okay, so look, I was comfortable with the framework. It doesn't feel like the words of the framework so won't require any more direct comment from us as a committee. So well done. You've anticipated most things there, Sarah, and I think we're only reinforcing what you have. We then get into the appendices that go with it. And I better just go back and find the first appendix. Was there any work? The first appendix, no big drama. That's the risk management process, which is almost the pick out of ISO 31000. 2 is the assessment criteria. It's actually quite important in the way in which we describe what are the things that concern us for the categories across the top with the addition of digital, which I assume came out of the workshop, made a lot of sense to me. The descriptors, did you work through those sorts of descriptors at the
Yeah,
workshop?
the workshop, those came directly out of the workshop.
Brilliant. So we can take, you may have had some reflections, nothing there that we need to update any further. Brilliant. So that gets me to Appendix 3, which is the nice colourful risk matrix, the heat map, which I'm sure you'll see in various ways. There's your report to us, what do you do when you get to the strategic risks? Fairly standard. Managing risk, again, that's just an embellishment of Appendix 4 of what we had discussion about further before. Risk management principles, anything there that people wanted to comment on? No, makes sense. It does look, they're a good set of principles, by the way. I did note that creating value and keeping value comes quite different risk appetites, and we will explore that as we go through our working as risk governors. For well-beings, well, they're there. I know whether they still stay. Risk appetite. This is a really well done, guys. This must have been quite a heavy session to get through all of this. And we've got the in red as Sarah's done it. Any thoughts or comments on it? Subsequent to the I was quite comfortable with them. Oh, yes, Perry.
I guess this is wonderful, and I really think that it describes really well the scenarios for us to consider. I do wonder with some of these things, there's certain kind of areas where there's a lot of nuance to what the risk tolerance is, and I'll take the example of in the comms space. You know, there are certain amounts of certain topics within comms that we have a high level of risk adverseness with, and then there's certain topics where we might want to be more playful in order to perhaps get more views or whatever. And so I guess my question is sort of broadly around, you know, if we set we have a low tolerance for reputational risk damage, that are we, I hope we're not constraining the organisation then in taking appropriate risks in those more nuanced spaces where we can have value for the community. Does that make sense?
Makes sense, yeah. Do you want to?
No, you go.
I think it's also I was going to say that risk is more nuanced as well, because it goes to the factor of how heavily does reputation weigh on a piece of comms or something else, you know. So it's a more, we've tried to sort of explain it as a more integrated approach. It doesn't stand in one isolation. So to go to your example, comms, it doesn't stand alone. So yeah, it goes to many other aspects like costs, subject.
Sarah,
Is that what you were asking?
Oh, no, I was just going to say something similar. Okay.
Perry, the sense to which I'd suggest, aside from laminated, I've said, this sounds old-fashioned to have something laminated on your desk, but I actually think these statements are really valuable as you integrate this into your decision making. An example where we were actually at council considering consultation of a decision around how will we consult with the community. And we used not this table, but a similar table, so that we could actually use this as language to understand how we wanted to approach the consultation. This was about creating a rating differential for forestry. And we talked about what is our general risk appetite around our social license with the community, because we figured that we were going to have a full debate with the forestry industry over this. But we also break that sort of thinking down into, so what is it that enables us to have confidence to put up with a fair bit of, not loss of social license, but actually a bit of, it's going to be public. What's going to help us? And we actually said what really counts is the data behind the rationale to have a different on forestry. So we actually said we have a low appetite for any problems with our data. So we were starting to craft for management and understanding that the work stream that was dealing with the data was actually critical. It led to a discussion, do we have the right resource available to get that data? In other words, we were saying we were prepared to tolerate, our appetite around our social license and through the form of the media. We were open to taking risk as long as we had good data behind us. At the moment we don't have good data, we've got problems. So it's actually using this table in a very similar manner as the way I would argue you should use that for your exact example. So I think, you know, that's why I like this table on the whole, you know, as you go through it. Any other thoughts or comments?
So through you, Chair, we did have a very similar laminated piece with our previous, and I totally agree with you. It's a really good reminder of the rules or the parameters that we have collectively agreed when we do make some of our decisions. So I would certainly be supportive of us having it in our pocketbook. That it's there as a reminder. Yeah.
I mean, I use it actually because of your, you know, even description. We've got to think about this when it comes to working with control and LTP. You can use this in just about any decision-making process, and let alone the more broader use, which is good to have, which I think you were challenging, Perry, that if we have these settings around social license, there's a straitjacket, that every decision we make has to fit within that category. I think the answer is no. You won't get there. You need to be flexible, which I think was excellent. Can I just ask a question, Kate? If I look at financial sustainability, it always interests me as an accountant. I must confess, I'm saying this in front of you actually, I was interested in your risk tolerant approach, where it says we will consider adopting process with lower transactional cost and better outcomes, even if it means we might be exposed to fraud. I'm trying to get into my head that I could actually live with that, because I'm not certain I can, but then I probably wanted to think, can you give me an example of where we would risk the incidence of fraud?
You're paying something fast and you're ignoring internal controls, so you're risking your.
So it might be, I'm just trying to think, so it might be if we had a mural relief fund in the face of a natural disaster and we get money out to ratepayers, there are a chance that a ratepayer might try and rip you off, but you're prepared to focus more on getting the money.
A mural relief fund is probably a good example because it's where you, like I say, you want to get the money out fast, and I couldn't think of one, so thank you. To use another bad word, you corrupt your normal processes. So you deliver something that's not about the financial.
Good. No, it's just good to have those thoughts in mind, because you read it black and white and I think, oh, I don't know if I want to be associated with it. It's not encouraging fraud, I know. It's actually, it's really valuable.
It's exposure.
It's valuable to think about uncertainties and about controls, which, that situation be there. Okay, cool. The other one that I was looking at was actually the most, well, we use the word risk averse. I suppose it is the correct. I'm not quite like using the word averse in terms of risk, but it's the tightest that we have. And so under sustainability, we have it's really tight, to be honest on us. We talk about our credit rating, we talk about any overspend on operational budgets. Well, it gets referred to members for approval. So it's really tight because we don't want to be making decisions all the time. But then we get down to government direction and regulatory legislative compliance. And it says in that last statement, cost is not a limiting factor in ensuring full alignment with government direction. I just wondered whether there was any contradiction in the vertical column, because we're dealing here with what it is to be risk averse, between the tightness around our financial sustainability versus in effect wanting to be aligned with government direction? You know, I'm probably thinking of examples here.
Very good question. I think you might have.
But we've got
yeah.
lots of government direction,
Yeah.
things coming down the line at the moment. And it seems to me that we're placing financial sustainability behind aligning ourselves with the government direction. I'm not looking for a political statement here, sorry, by the way. I'm just trying to understand how this might operate.
No, I think, so I think it's a good pick up, because I think we actually might need to rephrase, that's a new,
Yeah,
sentence,
appreciate
what
that.
it is. I think we need another way of explaining, framing that.
Yeah.
Because you're right, it does contradict the above.
Yeah, good.
Yeah. So we probably need a new way to frame that sentiment.
I'll let you play with that. I'm not going to say, but you might say, Bruce, so she said I haven't got one at the moment. I wanted to make certain. In fact, I was looking at a competition. Okay, those are my questions. I'm actually overall pretty comfortable with them. You know, I think actually I'm about to say we should play with them. What I mean is that we should try and use them.
Yeah.
Another thing, because that'll start to tell us actually, have we got this correct? I mean, I have an example, another council where where a $10,000 deviation in our budgets was considered an extreme financial result. And it meant everything should be coming to council for not me. No, they're not always over $10,000, but actually it just created such a straitjacket. We couldn't do anything without everything coming back to council. So, you know, we changed our risk appetite statements. So I think we need to, you know, live with this, work it, try it, and if necessary, come back and change it. At the very least, we've got a December review date anyway. So, see how we go. Okay, any other thoughts or comments on that? No? Good. Well, that gets us then to the strategic work register, which is actually to be adopted. So on page 53 of it now. I take it also, Kate and Sarah, we did this at the workshop. I think you've said you've added a few on. We've got ourselves up to 16, Sarah, which is fine if it's as long as it's meaningful. So again, I think the view here is that we need to adopt rather than necessarily debate the meeting great lengths today. I'm just wondering whether folks again have had a chance to think through the risks, the risks and the statements. Do they still resonate? Do you have any thoughts or comments on it?
I just have a question on page 56, which was natural hazards and climate change. Who are we going to delegate the ownership and the action to? Let's like Sarah, page 53.
Okay, oh no, there we go, 53.
Oh, sorry, 56. Sorry, it's natural hazards and climate change. We don't have an owner or an action by. I was just wondering who we would give that to.
Through you, yeah, I would say CE in the ELT group.
Yeah,
Based on similar risks.
I'm comfortable with that. I just wanted that we delegated it to someone because of the statements that we've got.
Yeah, Kate, did you have anything?
No, I'm happy to be guided by you.
Thanks, Sarah.
What people need kind of a risk down there. Nothing else on?
No, that was it. I just needed to know who owned it.
The fact we've got 16 reflects where we are and as a council, we try to back into 15. Okay, it feels like we're going to run with this, Sarah. So thank you. There's still a lot of stuff going on. So well done. I don't think there's any need for us to. Well, on this just becomes our, you know, the rule that we need to run across the council, along with obviously the risk management framework with its risk appetite status, which is very valuable. So that's tremendous. Then after that, sorry, I just followed through. I guess it's the non-red line version of the risk appetite statements. which seemed clean to me. And then really, we proposed review of the, risks through this so-called deep dive. I understand, Kate, you had the practice of doing these prior committees, great, so we need to continue it. The idea here being that with 16, we've got to try and get through them in 2 years, which I think is ambitious, but the right ambition. So it would say that if we're meeting quarterly, we need to do this, we need to do 4 every meeting. Perhaps to start off, the questions, Kate and Sarah, was there any rationale for the order? The timing.
Yeah, pretty good.
Sorry, that sounds terrible. What is the rationale behind that? Sorry, that's so like you don't have any.
So they were set based on some of the workshop discussion, which highlighted these were the ones, the 4 that were suggested in the first branch were the ones that were the top of mind for council at this point. However, happy to be guided on if you think there's one that actually is of more priority in this climate, I guess.
No, I'd like to go with where my colleagues are at. I was pretty relaxed. I tend to think of deep dives as I do when we get to the area of assurance in relationship to our LTP cycle. But also actually when the last deep dive was done. So, you know, I'm interested for us to think through, and most, I think it does align with that. So, you know, something like infrastructure failure being done in November feels about the right time, for instance, because we'll be heavily considering the infrastructure strategy, let alone the financial strategy, and it'd be good to have just that risk test against it. So, you know, to me, it seemed fine. But I just wanted to know whether there was, you know, what was the thinking. So if it's top of mind for the councillors, I think good for us as a committee, I think that we deal with things this way. So to me, it's fine. Yes, Tom?
Just a question through you, Chair. Knowing that we're going out doing our surveys, you know, the one that we do annually, is the reputation and trust, which is one that always comes through high on it, is that the best time? Will we have the results back of the survey by the 12th of August?
Through Chair, I will have to come back.
Through the chair, no, we won't.
Is it then appropriate that maybe we move it out to November, just a suggestion, and flip something else in there instead of that one, just so that we can, you know, cover off whatever comes back, and it's usually our reputation.
Mm-hmm.
And that, so that was just my suggestion. The other one is if I look at November, and I agree with you, Chair, it's important that we look at infrastructure failure coming into the LTP. So I'm really comfortable with that. But external shocks, are we looking, some of that is going to be government because the elections are going to happen. Should we push that one out? But I don't have a date for the first quarter in 2027. I mean, I think it's really important. But I was just thinking, you know, will we know what the government is going to do by the 11th of November? Was just a question.
Good point. Well, there are, I mean, we haven't done the dates. Doesn't matter. It's still indicative that actually we'll have a meeting each quarter.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we're talking within the first 3 months.
February's normally the, it's normally February.
Yeah. Well, look, can you just take that one on board, Sarah? I don't think we need to.
No.
I think we're saying in principle, let's try and run with this. I hear your point. Reputation, push it out. Let's bring one that is most natural forward. And I hear the point that external shock, to the extent that it also reflects government reform or perhaps solidifying a direction or not at the moment, it might be useful to have that in March rather, the first quarter of the year rather than anything else. So I would be open to your advice as to what we, you know, how you shuffle the decks, the chairs here. Okay. Brilliant. Thanks for the time. Yeah, the comments have like great. Well, let's
Does the committee have a preference for the 4th in August then?
the 4th one?
Yeah, if reputation and trust are going Is that right? Reputation
Yes.
and trust are going out.
It's
Yeah.
going out one, yes, it'll be December now, given we're waiting for Qantas survey.
So does the committee have a preference for what the fourth one would be in third quarter now?
Information and data, where would we be with that? To come in, just looking at the colour bands that we've got,
Bring it in.
we bring that one in. And then same with if we move out the reputation and trust, but pull in the Tiriti partnerships, because we should know where we're going with our partnerships with Mana Whenua by then, do you think?
Yeah.
Maybe,
Anyway,
flip those two out.
that's, yeah, I was thinking that I would recommend we do that one because
Yeah.
it keeps it in the same area.
And, yeah,
And
yeah, that's what I was thinking.
topical.
Anybody counting on details, so nice to have, so let's, is that okay to run with that, Kate?
You happy?
Well, I can say Sarah, sorry,
Yeah.
quite right, Sarah, are you happy?
Yes, yeah. Happy.
That's a
Yeah.
career enhancing answer, well done. Thank you, appreciate it. Oh, look again, Sarah, thank you, to you and your colleagues, that is that's actually a tremendous amount of work which we're trying to deal with at a reasonable pace, but again, thank you to my colleagues too, that you've put yourself in, helps us get to a good position. So the resolution is that we adopt the framework. We adopt the strategic risk register, the risk appetite statements, the deep dive schedule, and there are a few consequential changes there, Sarah, which that is a bit of wordsmithing you might want to think through, but there's nothing, quite frankly, they are all minor of in nature. So do I have a mover and a second for the stinky Perry? Thank you, Helen. I'll put the motion. All those in favour.
Can I just say something
Yes, go.
before we vote, Chair? I just want to compliment the team on picking up what was said in the workshop. I think that you've picked up the nuances, and where we were a little bit vague, you've been quite explicit, except for one or two that our chair has pointed out. And, we've just got to reframe, because it is, as the chair said, an awful amount of work, that has gone into this. And it's very clear, I think, for even our new councillors around the table to be able to work their way through this and understand what risk is about and where we're trying to land with it. So I just want to thank, but just one question on page 1931. When are you going to send a survey out to the elected people? It said, upon adoption of the proposed risk appetite statements, officers will circulate a survey to elected members on the risk appetite position to set the current risk appetite for council across each risk. I think we've already done a great job, but I don't think you need to do that. It was just a comment, and I'll thread that into my comment about the work that you've done. So thank you to you and the team. Excellent.
Thank you. Okay, I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against, it's carried. Thank you. We appreciate that. I don't normally say it's any debate.
Yeah,
Alan, so you're welcome. No, seriously, if you're not going to make positive comments, I'm very open to that.
Oh, thank you. But I got.
I didn't want to, I was thinking about procedure, and I can see that my argument is to the back room, so we don't have too much on both sides. Thank you for those actually positive comments.
Yeah.
Very colleagues as well.
Thank you.
Okay, we move to the order of the bench trustees, please.
Yep, thank you, Chair. So this is hopefully another relatively straightforward paper. As part of our Debenture trust deed, it's a contractual requirement that we do have an audit and that we get a limited assurance report to provide back to the Debenture trust. And this report is just giving you an update, and the attachment is just the engagement letter from Audit New Zealand. Oh, sorry, Audit Office. I will need to change that. Unless Debbie, is there anything you would like to add?
I just want to give everyone an update where we are from an audit perspective. Commit, you're saying, is just give a brief update. We phased the audits this year. I think we are sitting in a really good tight spot. We are entering the next phase of the audit, which is the prelim final, focusing on the more complicated stuff. I really wanted to say thanks to Sarah and Kate for bringing us to this point, because the pieces of work we'll be covering are not easy, but technical in nature. So just thank you for all the hard work they've done behind the scenes to get us to this point. And I think we're quite well placed to start the audit in beginning of June.
Thank you. That's good to hear, Debbie. In any case, we've already signed this document off, so it's all go. So we're not everybody.
Really a lot of noting on.
No, that's fine. No, that's fine. No, that's fine. I appreciate that. And but it is important. It just keeps our noses tidy. So I think it's good. I'm going to move from the chair that we note this. Do I have a second, please? Thank you, Helen. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Carry.
Can I just make a comment, Chair? I just want to say thank you for the attachment that you put in here, Debbie, which is the template. It gives us an understanding of what the report is going to look like when it comes back to us. It's the first time we've seen that, and I really am grateful to the work that your team is doing and our officers in bringing it in such a more plain English way for people to understand. So thank you.
Yes, no, thank you. It's good. The technical area, isn't it? So. Rightio, insurance update.
Yeah, so this report just provides the committee with an update on our council insurance program and just any recent activity we've had since we since last year when we renewed. Just to note, our usual insurance renewal time has changed slightly because of TRQI. We are extending our our material damage and our business interruption insurance for a further 2 months just to cover till the transfer happens on the 1st of July. Otherwise, the rest of our policies renewed as they normally would from the 1st of November. And this report here just shows the premium adjustments that we've had since we've renewed. And and then some small changes that we had to the overall policy as a result of the renewal. But otherwise, that's it. Thank you.
Very good. This is actually a risk discussion, believe it or not, because actually it's a question of do we take the risk? We pass the risk off. Are we happy with where it's at? So, any questions for Sarah? Yes, Helen.
Through you, Chair, and thank you. With this insurance update and the timing of it, as you said, we've rolled over a couple of things. We've already approved the annual plan for this coming year. Have these increases been budgeted in the annual plan, or is there enough in there that we're okay?
Through you, Chair. So yes, the insurances that rolled at the 1st of November, that those increases have gone through into the annual plan.
Yeah.
For the insurances that will happen after in the annual plan cycle, we do go to Aon and ask them to give us an indication of what they think the premium increase will be, and then we put that through into the annual plan.
So we're within.
I haven't got the premiums yet for what the new insurance will look like from the 1st of July, but we, like I say, we do have advice from Aon, so we would hope that it's within range.
Thank you.
I was thinking seriously a wee bit about the natural catastrophe. And who do we place that on?
Through you, Chair, we place it through Aon and they take it through to London.
Okay, they're going straight to the London Market Office.
Yes, yeah, they do. Yeah.
This will change substantially for us with 1 July and the passing of the majority of a big part of our asset base to that July.
Yes, yeah, that will look slightly different.
So that'll leave us with our above ground assets, which are not insubstantial and roading, for which we don't have any involved insurance anyway.
No, we don't insure the roads.
No, okay. So that might have quite a substantial change from 1 July, hence the rolling of the existing.
Yeah.
How are we being advised by Aon on what to do or structure post 1 July?
Through you, Chair, I will hand that back over to the CE.
We have, so there's 2 of us involved in regular catch-ups.
Yeah.
Aon have the group,
Yeah.
the wider Wellington Collective. And we meet with them regularly to go through what it might look like after 1 July, including looking at, and I'm having absolute blank sitting here. We've been looking at risks in our assets that we have.
Yeah.
So working through in a methodical way. And then it's about what's in and what's out.
Mm.
But that's at the detailed level, and that's what our infrastructure accountant is involved in. But then at the more overarching is the group itself might have to disband and regroup because who's in that group currently is no longer in, it's all that everyone's getting into different places. And so, for example, Southern District Council is in that group, it might not be appropriate to be in that group anymore.
Yeah.
So we're working through it at 2 levels. That makes that answer, but you get my point.
Which is great, because I mean, I'm just thinking strategically, there is quite a change here in the insurance requirements at Upper Hutt, and it might be just useful if we could keep our eye on where that's going, Sarah. If that's okay to say, this comes back to the strategic thing. What are we left with? What is the extent of cover we need? And indeed, even your point, what's the best way to achieve that? I mean, up until now, collectives tend to have been very helpful, particularly when you go to the market, so we just need to be careful about that. Okay, that's cool. The only other question I had, and it's really bizarre, actually, it's only because of a very personal level, my insurance has rolled over today, and I've had to sign up to one insurance people who charge me too much. Cyber at $1 million, is that enough? Cyber security on page 80, we've got $1 million in aggregate. And 250 in aggregate for damages. Is that a normal standard policy for a council? I'm struggling to remember it because in fact I've looked at a few with other councils, but I can't remember whether that's the number I'd go for. Is that sufficient coverage?
Through you, Chair, that
Sorry, I'm looking your way, seriously.
Through you, Chair, that will be guided by what Aon have recommended to us.
Yeah, okay. Look,
I'm happy to take it away.
Can you check it out? Because I thought, gee, not a lot.
No.
I mean, if we have a cyber incident, it's going to cost us a bucket load of money. Well, I should be careful. Going on experience of the Waikato district health boards and what have you of this world, it does suggest it's going to be a problematic time. So
happy to come back on that.
I don't know whether that's covering the risk or not. It actually might be the right, probably most likely will be the right number. But it just seemed, it made me just think, I don't know. Okay, any other questions for Sarah here? Yes, Dave.
Just an item 12, risk survey on our four highest properties. We had a recommendation of priority A on Whirinaki. Well, were there other ones on B and C?
Yes, through you, Chair. Yep. So there are 4 categories of priority: A, B1, B2, and C. So A, like we say, we had 1. B1 we had 6. So B1 is just they recommend you do it either when you have the money or potentially the next financial year if you don't have the funds to deal with whatever the issue is. B2 we had 6 as well, and they basically call them like low-hanging fruit, quick things that we could fix that would reduce our risk, and then we had none for C.
David, another question or comments?
Through you, Chair, I just want to pick up on a comment that you made about cyber attacks.
Oh, right, okay.
And well, yeah, we kind of through. So with us looking after Te Ake Wai and collecting their money, is that covered by our insurance, or do they insure that? I know that we're going to be doing it for 2 years, and I was just wondering, if our payroll and our rates and all of that got attacked, obviously that's got an interface with what we're doing. So are we covering for that as well in a cyber attack? You started this, Bruce.
No. I mean, it is. Actually, it's really not the money. It's actually what.
Through you, Chair, I will have to come back to you on that one. I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah.
But I would note it as an action to come back to.
I speak probably a long list of what must we cover off at Te Ake Wai and how do we transition? It's a really good question.
Yeah.
It'll be in the statement of works with Te Ake Wai. Every work stream has a statement of works under the master contract. But as I sit here, I don't know the answer, but that's what we're also.
Okay, thank you. That's what you.
Okay, so our need is to note the report. Thank you. And recognising that 1 July brings quite a material change to the insurance position that ultimately will adopt. So I'm going to move that we note the contents of the signatures. Thank you. That's great. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Thank you. We're into the local water done well water services transition risk report. Yeah, just noting that this is the one that we perhaps might extend contract, but seems pretty dormant from an income perspective operates. I think we're going to hear where it's at. Thank you, Sarah.
Yes, thank you, Chair. So this report here is giving the Risk Insurance Committee a update on the local water done well Te Ake Wai transition. It talks about the different work streams that we have internally within council with the Te Ake Wai transition, and just note some of the risks and updates of where each stream is at.
Brilliant. That's well, crystal clear report. Do we have questions or comments for Sarah? Can I ask a question, please, Sarah? Paragraph 17, there's a risk assessment there.
Yes.
Is that our assessment or Te Ake Wai's?
That through you, Chair, that's our internal assessment.
That's our internal assessment, where it's at. Yep. Look, it seems not surprising. I don't mean that unkindly. It's either a reflection for us or a reflection on Te Ake Wai. But I'm even thinking that we have been qualified, haven't we, heavy on the outcomes of our customer model. The fact that it's read high and we're months away reflects that I presume there's a lot being done in that area to try and bring that lower, correct?
Yes, through you, Chair. That's been the last big stream. Basically, they were trying to get everything in place, and now they've come back to the customer work stream.
Yep.
There is a lot still ongoing in that stream, and there is a lot of nitty gritty of, how are we answering the phones? What are we saying to people? So yes, we are working through it very quickly internally to get processing of how we'll deal with our ratepayers.
Right. Which actually then gets me to my second question around the model, which was in my head, I wrote down why bifurcate faults, and I should explain bifurcate. It's a word that the auditors introduced to me over some of their work elsewhere. In other words, why do we split this issue between Te Ake Wai and ourselves around faults? They hold the old faults, we hold the new faults. It seems that we have this risk, which actually has been, I can only talk for other councils that I have been Wellington, which I've been associated with, where we keep getting pinged for the after hours, etc., where we've got different, is it the pump, I don't know, somebody that does it at night versus ours, and then we've got your contractor. And here I'm concerned that we might be not so much about the audit, but actually about effective customer service. Why? What's the rationale that we deal with one fault and they deal with another? It's probably, you might not be able to answer that question for me. It seems strange to me.
Yes, through you, Chair. That is something that councils have been working with Te Ake Wai on to figure out where that is best placed, whether all the faults just come to council. Because how would you how do you teach a ratepayer that it's a new fault versus an old fault? So there is a lot of that still going on of just making sense of what they've laid out.
Yeah, okay. It just makes me think this is a red area. So, I'm not, I appreciate that there's a lot of good work being done by good people, but I just, the fact it's red worries me this period.
Just from your question around the customer model and service delivery rated high, just curious around what thinking has been done to make sure in a DLC kind of situation where we have to activate the emergency, that we make sure that those phone calls are going to the right place, because no doubt on day 3 of Te Ake Wai standing up, we will have a flood or something.
through you, Chair, touch if we don't. But
That's our lovely ring.
I
It's handy, these of you.
don't have an answer for you on that, but I can come back to you. That is things they will still be working through. But I can come back to you on it.
And can we make sure that that conversation is being had
Is being
a
had.
broad,
Yeah.
a broad
It's
selection
bigger.
of our people involved in emergency management? Thank you.
Kate, you're about to.
I was just going to say that helps her out. I think, I mean, I'm just looking at the overall implementation status, which is a level of detail beyond here. So I think it's fair to say scripts for day one are still under development. And, you know, the build of, what's it called, IVR? Yes, IVR is still under, that build is still underway. So there is a lot of work in progress right now. I think it's fair to say the customer had to come last in a lot of ways for development, not come last per se, because we needed to get our billing for water charges, for example. The UAT testing is going to be done on the 11th of June, and we needed to get that developed so we knew what our billing framework looked like to then get the customer scripts and modelling in place and responses. So that's in the billing framework. We also needed as a council, because we're a service provider here, it's no longer our customer as such. It is Te Aki Wai's customer that we are contracted to provide a service to. So there's that little bit of distance now that's going in place. And so right at that staff level, there's a level of understanding that and how that will work. We couldn't, and we're not unique, we're no different than the other councils. We could not do that until we had these various components in place, legal components, billing components, all these other bits of who and where everything was going to be done. Palmerston North continuing as the after hours call centre. All those bits had to be put in place before we could design the customer experience for Upper Hutt ratepayers and water charge payers from 1 July. I think it's fair to say at Upper Hutt, we've been exactly like everyone else, all other councils. We have, as of this week, we have 6 people, 5 new people who are here doing this work for Upper Hutt and paid for by Te Aki Wai. So we are working through this, and it's, I mean, I sit here and I can say I'm actually pleased that we've got everything into medium and lower, and I'm fully expecting the customer will come off red. Don't get me wrong, I think day one is going to be hard. It's going to be really hard, but we are working to make it as least hard as we can get it. But I think it's going to be really hard because we are going to have people coming in here who do not know what's what. I think I will remind the room that Upper Hutt is going to be different from the other 3 councils. I exclude Greater Wellington deliberately because the other 3 councils have said to their water charge payers, customers on day one, you can't come into council for this. We at Upper Hutt have said you can continue to come into the council building and we will assist you. Yeah, we did that deliberately. It was a very conscious choice made because Upper Hutt City Council had no relationship with NZ Post. And when we took the new CEO of Te Aki Wai over to see what New Zealand Post looks like in Upper Hutt, it's a very small shop, and it was full. So adding Te Aki Wai onto that, they can go to New Zealand Post. Yes, they will be able to. But our ratepayers are not used to going to New Zealand Post. So we've got quite a different, we're trying to get ourselves sort of onto the same page as the other 3 councils. But I don't think our experience, it may be different, but it won't be any harder than the other 3 councils are going to find on day one. It is a challenging time, and it is already challenging in the customer service team as they are now, and they're doing a marvellous job with the information they have, and for our rates team. They are also doing a marvellous job. They have to direct our ratepayers to the Te Ake Wai website now and say, here's the indicative water charges you will pay, drop down this box and you'll see it based on your CV. And then you have to go to Upper Hutt City Council and go to, here's the rate viewer and you can look at your indicative rates. They used to just going to Upper Hutt City Council and saying, here's the rate viewer, here's our rates. So it's designing a customer, going back to the customer model and service centre, it's designing an experience that is actually now two different places. So it's challenging, but we have some very good staff that have started with us who are designing scripts and everything in a way that creates a uniformity of response as much as we can. So I just wanted to put that up.
No, that's very helpful, Kate, and I don't want to sound like I'm being too hard, but I'm just, it is read, what you're saying is we're putting controls or mitigations actually in place as much as we can. It is still very difficult. I think actually, Perry, your question is really good. I couldn't help but think of Tauranga and their very unfortunate landslip. And one of the questions will be, where did the core go? That's one of the key questions is when whoever it was councilled, it was thought it was going to the EOC, but we whatever. Now I'm not making any judgment over that, but if we can learn from that, your questions well is really good. July, I hate to say it, Sarah, is winter. And you can tell me weather is good here. The chances are you'll have a flood on the 3rd of July and you need to know how to.
I made a joke about that when I became mayor. It's on the whole. Minor,
Saying things like that.
no jinx, I'm a jinx.
I think I've got through the rural electricity, the central Otago network. 1 July, and I think on the 3rd of July they had a massive snowstorm, which meant the whole country had to come and help get the lines back up. So it's not an unreasonable, not assumption, but an unreasonable matter or fact to take into account. Unfortunately, it's still delayed there, Sarah. But anyway, there we go.
I will bring it back to you.
Okay, is there anything else people would like to raise about this stuff?
Yeah, just for clarity, so the Te Ake water bill, that will go out with our rates?
No.
It won't, it'll go out separately? Right, cool, I just want to clear that.
Through you, Chair, just follow up. I think in our initial workshops and meetings, probably, if correct me if wrong, that we were told that it will go with the rates bill.
I think what you were told would go with the rates bill was a little flyer that came from Te Ake Wai, and that went with the last rates bill. That's gone out. And then for the next, I'll defer to Sarah. She's got more on.
So the intention is that the rates bill will go out early July so that we can get people's DDs adjusted, because at the moment they will be paying a slightly higher DD until we strike the rates and get the invoices out. And the intention is that the Te Ake Wai ones go out 20th of July from memory to the printing supplier. So there will be a couple of weeks difference.
So it will be two emails or everything will be two.
Yeah.
Is Te Ake, what billing cycle is Te Ake? Are they monthly or 6 weekly?
They decided to go quarterly.
Quarterly.
So 1 September.
Rightio. Yeah.
Just through you, Chair, just a curiosity that because there is a bit of disappointment out there in the community, and if a large number of people decide not to pay the bill, what will happen then?
Through you, Chair, I guess I can't answer that on behalf of Te Ake Wai. That would be something they will be dealing with.
Okay.
Our job is just to collect the money. It's up to them what they do.
But then if it's just follow through, Chair. If it's our job to collect the money, then we will be approaching those people for the money.
So I think again, if I'll start and you can finish.
Yeah.
Is that okay? I think if you think about Upper Hutt, we worked really hard, or Sarah's team worked really hard to collect the rates early. We work extremely hard to keep people on DDs and payment schedules so that they don't fall into default. We're a little bit, and I'll use this word deliberately, old-fashioned but that is very much something that Sarah and I think is the right thing to do. And if we didn't do that, we would spend the money on debt collection.
Mm.
The indication is that Te Ake Wai is going to probably be more like the other councils and go to a debt collection type model. So if you don't pay, you'll be taken to debt collection. So they will likely at this stage have a debt collection agency who will follow up. So we, as Sarah says, the people we have employed to do this will do their best, and then likely that information, if it's still unpaid after a certain period of time, and that will be months, not days, it will go to the debt collection and it will be outsourced for them to follow up with you if you're not paid. Does that make sense?
Thank you.
There are certain protections around supply of water, so,
Yeah.
but point well made, is a protest or people aren't wanting, they're gonna have, Te Ake Wai will have to have appropriate policies that protect some natural rights, but also give them a chance to get money.
Thank you, through you, Chair, and to carry on about the finances, a minute past the final date for our rates, the penalty kicks in. Do we know if Te Ake Wai has a penalty that will kick in, or will it be under the other consumer affairs when you're looking at a utility, that's how it will be applied, or do we know if it's another way? Because I'm looking at it as a utility.
Yeah, through you, Chair. I don't know whether it has landed. I know there was discussion backwards and forwards on whether they could apply penalties or not. But I don't know whether it has landed. To come back to you unless,
Yeah,
okay,
and they can apply penalties.
Yeah.
I think the chair of Te Ake Wai sat in one of these very seats and said that they will be practical in how they work those penalties for the first year. So I think there is so what am I trying to say? There is a penalty regime that they are able to apply, and they are able to apply. However, they have said for the first year there's a bit of bedding in to do, and so it's not for me to say no.
Yeah.
That's up to them. But they have definitely voiced a level of practicality as we bed in things, because you've got to remember Te Ake Wai are dealing with 4 different councils and 4 different council systems. So there's a practicality there to get it working.
Okay, and just a subsequent, if you don't mind, Chair. So where would the community find those? Would it be under the Consumer Act? With regard to, because like I said, I'm kind of looking at it as a utility, and I appreciate, like any new utility, there is going to be a bedding in process, and we are at arm's length from it, but there is uncertainty out there in the community as to how this will go. It's great to know that they're going to get 2 bills and that they are separated by that. But it's just a concern of, there are hardship people out there, and I appreciate that our rates people do a great job by going out and working with people to make sure that they don't hit that penalty. Will they be doing the same when it comes to Te Ake Wai, or will it just go that they haven't paid and then it's Te Ake Wai's responsibility? I'm not quite sure how that works. It's a bit like the phone calls, which is theirs, which is ours. So what happens when that first payment doesn't come in from the 1st of September?
Through you, Chair, they do have a hardship policy, which from memory does go through their debt management and how they will treat things.
Yeah, at levels, yeah.
At different levels. I guess the first year, whilst this is just an interim billing solution, our team will act on however Te Ake Wai basically tells us to do it.
I think it's interesting because this is a transition issue.
Yes, it is.
Deeply, it's a Te Ake Wai issue. We're worried about transitions. I think, Sarah, what it does reflect to me is a couple of things. We collectively have made decisions about how water will be delivered after 1 July. So I don't doubt, Helen, there's a very real sense of accountability said in a different forum to the council, the first bill that goes out is actually your bill, believe it or not, because you've created the Te Aki Wai. I wonder if there is perhaps a need over the coming months to think through how does you as councillors have some of this sort of standard information, so that because your community are going to ask you because they think you should know. And I just wonder whether there's a Sarah, there's a level of you talk about script. I get it entirely, Kate, in terms of phone ringing, but actually there's a sense in which there needs to be some sort of core script for, I think, councillors, because you be held accountable for, you know, my first experience with getting a rates bill, a water bill out of Te Aki Wai. It's their ultimate legal responsibility, but you will want to be able to talk to your community, even if it's to say, well, this is where you go, this is what you do, this is how they're approaching.
Through you, Chair, I know this week we did put out frequently asked questions out to the councillors.
Right, okay,
and
cool.
for that-
I'm speaking for the whole head, sorry, that's fine.
So that I would assume we will keep updating as well. Available, or things are more set in stone.
Well, thank you for that. When we meet next, this is all done deal. So I wish you well. Okay.
Smooth transition.
That's right. So it's going to be.
July.
That's right. Yeah.
July.
I'm in the middle of it. No, you won't do it before. The waiter's on. Okay.
Stuff,
Okay, look, that's wonderful. Well, that's great. Thank you for that. That's very helpful, Sarah. And thank you for the way we've engaged in the information you've given, because it actually this is what should be done for which is upfront. What are the real matters? Let's get them out. Let's have a discussion. So well done. Thank you for that. So I think therefore the motion is that we receive the report and we note the current risks.
I think it was, sorry, through you, Chair, I think it was a question in the email in relation to the paragraph 19, and that was addressed to Helen. If you have already asked, or
if you would like to ask, because it was sent to all of us, so if you'd like to bring it up.
So to clarify that email, community members cannot ask questions directly of the chair, but
if you would like
so if you would like to ask it, you're welcome to.
I think I will. It's nothing bad, and I didn't see anything. So in para 19, this para includes the mention of information on the additional financial support for Te Aki Wai that all shareholding councils have agreed to. Is this additional funding known to council, and where is it identified to the public? Also, what is this additional funding for?
Through your chair, so that statement isn't actually talking about, whilst it says financial support, it's not talking about funding. The sentence actually refers to financial support that under the shareholder obligations. And I guess just to tweak a word in there, and it should really say for any additional financial, on any additional financial support for Te Aki Wai that all shareholding councils will have to agree to. It's not all agreed at this moment, but it is around shareholder obligations. It's not about giving them more money.
It's not, there's an actual request out there for extra money at this stage.
Wow.
I think that's the question you're asking. I think that you're really saying setting up a plan.
Yes, it's just clarifying that this is actually just around shareholder obligations, debt guarantors, that kind of high level strategic, as opposed to giving Te Aki Wai more money, which is now their responsibility.
This is a bit of what I'm trying to say, but I think I was trying to say it myself. It's contingent issue. It's not an actual issue.
Thank you. And I acknowledge that you can want the next sense. Thank you for that.
Okay, any other final questions, or I'll go to the resolution, and the resolution is that we receive and we note the current risks. Thank you, Dave. Have a second. Thank you, appreciate that. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Sarah, Brett. Welcome, health and safety. Sarah, it's not going to breathe a sigh of relief for a wee while, so well done. You've done well. Thank you.
Through you, Chair, this health, safety and wellness report, we do a 3-month period, January to March. The key points of note are workforce wellbeing, the employee assistance program usage has increased this quarter, which may indicate greater awareness and willingness to seek support. However, we'll continue to monitor it as a potential indicator of increased workforce pressure. And sorry, I do see a stray word that shouldn't be there, so apologies for that typo. Risk profile, no new critical risks were identified, and we have controls in place for the risks that we have identified. Contractor management, progress on contractor management improvements is strengthening assurance over critical risk controls, particularly for high risk external work. And incident performance, there's been no work safe notifications this quarter, and there's been no lost time injuries.
Thank you, Sandra, appreciate that. And it's a very helpful report. I like both of them, the process, the front end, but obviously some questions. Sandra, you vote. Yes, Helen?
Sorry, through you, Chair. Sandra, I've got a couple of questions for you. So there's quite a big bit in here on 92 about the work that we're doing with our contract management program. And with regard to that, and then it drops down into, you know, the workers and the managers on site. We've obviously got these health and safety improvements and legislation embedded in our contracts, right? So are we saying that even though they're embedded in our contracts, there still seems to be a flaw or a gap between the delivery, even though we've agreed that this is the process that they will follow, and we're having to pick that up?
Through you, Chair, well, we need to assure ourselves that that our contractors are doing the right thing, is what we expect of them in terms of health and safety under the legislation. And that's the area where we need our contract managers to make sure that they audit these things so that we can have that assurance.
Right.
So that's why at the moment we're educating our internal contract managers, and then they're feeding that out to the external contract managers what we expect to see. So it's a 24-month project.
Right.
It was an area where we identified that we have some work to do.
Okay.
And so this project is to address the issues that we found.
Right.
No, yeah, that really comes up as a question from paragraph F.
Yes, it does.
Which is the number of mobile phone operators
Yeah.
Do not hold required certificates.
Mm.
I have actually a question, yes, Sandra, in a sense, how's this possible? If we've got to pre-qualify them, how can they be on site without the requisite stuff?
Through you, Chair, well, obviously our contractors can employ subcontractors.
So it's the subbies that are, it's the subbies that are.
Yes, it could be that. And so when we go out on site, that's what our contract managers need to check, that they have got the required things in place.
Yeah.
So it's also about increasing the awareness for our contractors sometimes about what they should have in place.
Even though they're in their contracts, okay.
I get, I'm sorry, I mean, it happens.
It happens.
So, no, I get the true sense, so I get that, and, but actually, I think then, in the learning culture, I think ultimately we want to know actually, so we've learned more therefore about actually how we work with our contractors, so that actually this gap is closed. Yeah, okay. Thank you, Helen. Is there any other thing you want?
Just another one on the last page for you, Sandra. It was on, paragraph 25 out of 72 reported events during the period 12 related to 4 contractors and 56 related to public. And I'm assuming that was mainly in H2O.
Yeah. The majority of our incidents are relating to people attending the pool.
Right. Even just a subsequent question, even though we know that we've identified that it's a high risk, right, and we know that and put all the things in place, is that still a really high number? Because we don't have it in our risk profile as being, high. When we look at the space, it's kind of medium. It's not.
True, you check. Well, it's about the volume of people that go through the facility, and so these incidents could relate to somebody tripping, needing a plaster. They're not like necessarily serious incidents, they could be just minor, but we just have a good reporting culture, so people report them, but they can be just, it's the volume of, it's one of the areas where we have the most people going through, so you would expect probably more going on there.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I think that's where it's helpful that you've got the trend stuff there for the prior 2 or 3 years. Because I like the question, John, in the sense that, it raises the question, are we doing enough? Having said that, can I say this is a very typical incident profile for local government. If we wanted to get rid of this, we'd close down all our pools. So
Hand them over.
That's right. I hand them over to somebody else because they are amazing places for all the kids, water, adults, water. It all sort of goes a bit crazy at times, doesn't it? So I'm not surprised. So the only question would be: is it getting worse?
Yeah.
Or what are we learning to minimise that? I was amazed that there were no incidents relating to violence or aggression in the last 3 months. What's in the water? That's tremendous. That is great result. I'm serious.
Yeah,
That
it is unusual.
That is
Yeah.
contrary to everything else around the country. Well done. Must be something's working. So I don't know what it is. Having said that, looking at mental health impacts, constrained resourcing and competing demands are having an impact. This is a difficult problem. And I just wanted to ask the question, Sandra, and I don't know whether there's an easy answer. How do we stop this being normalised? I guarantee that through the rest of my meetings this triennium, we will take this as the same risk and we'll go, oh yeah. And I don't know whether that's from a health and safety perspective the right stance to take. So I'm asking a hard question because I don't know quite, it's a combination. Is there a way we can address this?
It's true, Chair. It's about continuing to raise it as an issue, that it is an issue and it's not going to go away. There's no easy solution. And it's something we have to manage.
We're broadly all people in this room responsible.
Yeah.
One way or the other, even dare I say it, independent until it's proved in law. I'm concerned about being an officer. If we just report it, it doesn't mean to say that we're dealing with it right.
No, it doesn't. But we deal as things come up. We deal with it. We put in mitigation strategies. Like in terms of our staff and our staffing, we know that we are a council that is a lean council, and for many roles, there's only one person in that role, and so and the demands on our time and the work that we need to do is increasing, and it's something that we're really aware of. Here's Kate coming to save me.
Yes, so it's not one person doing work. It's got a couple of something here.
It's something that even has come up around the council table where even councillors are saying, can you do this? We're saying there has to be trade-offs. If we're looking at extra work being done that's not already on the agenda or on our programme, that means we need to move something or bring in more resource, that we just can't keep adding to what we do. We have to have trade-offs.
Have you got a thought here for us?
No, I don't have a thought, but all I was going to just reinforce what Sandra said. We have identified just recently a couple of areas where it's clear we need more resource, and one of them is for this room, and because it is quite clear that this council has cut itself probably too lean. So part of it is making sure and I look at Mike at the back of the room there, because he runs a lot of people in community activities, and we run that in a safe and efficient way. But then part of it is coming back into the building for what I call sort of the more corporate end of the building, and making sure we address some concerns there. And so we're doing that. We have probably, I can sit here quite honestly and say we've probably cut ourselves a bit lean in some areas, and we're looking to address that.
Can I follow up on it?
You go, Pierre.
This is a topic that's on the minds of myself, at least, for every other day, I think, in terms of the leanness of this council and whether or not we can continue to do a good job and also do right by the employees of the organisation in terms of workload. I've said to Debbie when we came in here, I think we're one of the leanest councils, running one of the leanest councils in the country in terms of the people we serve and the number of staff that we have. I wonder, is this, to your point, Bruce, around there's almost an acceptance of that's just the way it is. Is there a report or something that can come back to us in terms of how overstretched the staff are feeling in their functions, and also those are there any single points of failure where we have greater concern around the deliverability of those services? I am thinking of one which I think you'll be thinking of too, Kate, where it was a resource left to one person, and then that job doubled or tripled over a small period of time, and they were not able to, in terms of OAA responses, we had enormous amounts of those come through. There was responsibility of one person, and then we were able to come from. So I was curious around what can we do. I guess it's a long-term plan question, but what can we do in the interim?
Can I be facetious?
Yeah.
Please don't ask for another report.
Okay. Well, don't ask for anything more. So maybe that's the message. I mean, what would you like to tell us?
No, I think more constructively. First of all, it's largely an operational issue, and there is work that's put on staff by this council, and that's the right thing to happen. And it's for us to push back or me to push back and say, you've actually got us to a C+ grade. That's as good as we can get. If you want it to a B, then we're going to have to staff up. And that means you're going to have to be willing to accept that the rates need to go up. Our cost structure, if we go back to the balanced budget model, our cost structure needs to increase in level. So I think it comes down to that. I think we have, as I've said, identified a couple of areas recently where we need to address some issues, and we're doing that. And that's the best I can probably give you at this point. I think that's fair, isn't it?
Yeah.
It may be, Kieran, it's not a critique error. It may even be that sometimes data that you probably already collect, I don't know, over time and lieu, those sorts of things may be sort of things. It only gives colour to the nature of the concern that we've actually, as being.
I guess it's because I'm seeing it, whereas other councillors maybe don't see it as often, and I'm sort of keen to daylight how lean the organisation is and how sort of much stress I can see.
So you should just a follow up. Some of the organisations overseas, government and non-government, do the internal surveys with the staff, how they feel about the workload. Is there any scope for if we can do something similar?
We will.
Or we already doing?
We're doing one, yeah.
And what those surveys? Sorry, through chair. What those surveys says?
Sorry.
What these outcomes?
What do they raise?
Yeah.
Very much. They raise very much the issues that we've just been discussing in this room. And to Bruce's point, there is a responsibility on both the people in this room from a governance angle and from an executive angle, to make sure that we just don't fall into a malaise of complacency, and just everyone's always stretched. So that's what we're trying to address at some levels, but we will need to look at it as we move forward, because as you're aware, central government is putting an immense amount. I mean, I think it's fair to say in this room and publicly that we thought with Te Akiwai going, we might get a breather. But that's not turning out to be the case. So yeah.
Look, I wonder if at this stage, Sandra, we leave it that I'm going to ask this question. Okay. So I see two things here. There is, and at this stage, it's a long-term solution, which is your LTP. In the way that you've said, you might have to be prepared to come up with some tough discussions around our cost structure. But to be honest, 1 July 27 feels a long time away in terms of this risk, because we will burn out staff between now and then. So it's really an open invitation that we have an honest discussion about this in a real way, and in case there's something that should happen, now, you know what I mean? Rather than actually waiting for the structural response for now. So, I think this is a sort of situation where, I mean, it's going back to what's our risk management framework response here? What's our risk? We are outside appetite. I think it's really what I'm trying to reflect here. I don't know which one of the risk appetite statements, Dave, that we would pin on this one, but equally, what is it that we can do immediately? Well, I don't think there's a lot, but I'm just not prepared to not have a discussion about it at every meeting, Kate, because it actually this worries me that actually, you know, if somebody suffers something, it would be not unreasonable, possibly, in the circumstance, say, well, work stress, pressure, whatever, is a contributor, and we should be concerned about it.
I think one thing that we can do as elected members, and I will encourage all of our elected members, including those ones who aren't here now, to be cognizant of it. And also have reasonable expectations around what's delivered when, and have patience, because, you know, a huge amount of work gets created to take to us in workshops and to take to us in committee meetings, and we need to be patient and accepting of the size of this organisation and able to deliver those, you know, with all of the change, with all of the extra stress from government.
And I mentioned that I mentioned the example of council I talked about. Actually, data is important. How much resource do you expect to get thrown into it to make it right? Actually, the answer was we'll pay a consultant to do the information. I mean, I'm not suggesting we suddenly up the consulting budget, but we need to reflect and be flexible as to how we deal with it.
And I think you raise a good point, because I will call it out. If I look at legal, we've used a lot of external to help out.
Yeah,
So, and I think it does go to risk because it sits in our culture. So, yeah.
Sandra, just a little question for me around health and safety. To be honest, Perry, all of council need to know our risks, but particularly our health and safety risks, because this is one which you know, affects all of us. Do full council see this full? See the minutes we adopted. The sort of thing about, I think what I'm trying to say, Perry, is what you just said. I think is part of the solution. It would be good for all council to get that solution, not just perhaps the converted industry is what I'm trying to say.
The agenda goes to all of council. But I will deliberately send a particular email, a specific email addressing this one.
Well, perhaps we could say, please do that on behalf. I think it's one that we, well, I'm sorry, I'm pushing my oar out here. I think it's one we just be, you know, in the way that you said, thoughtful about questions first. Any other questions or comments? Yes, Helen.
Could I make a suggestion, considering the conversation that's just taken place, that we actually move the health, safety and well-being in reporting, instead of leaving it until Q2 in 2027, bringing it into quarter on the 12th of August and move out the funding, because the funding is tied to our LTP, so it could be pushed out a little bit, just looking. Yeah, so if we do the deep dive, bring that one in, because obviously it's a concern for all of us around the table. And as you quite rightly said, Bruce, it needs to be something that all of us as council should be aware. And if they get to see a deep dive, and I take on board what our CEO has said, please don't ask for another report, but if it's in a deep dive.
Taking one thing off, one thing on.
Well done. Sorry. Just a recommendation.
Well, I think we can just agree there that that'd be okay. I mean, it's just wanting to heighten exactly the risk you're bringing to the centre.
Yeah.
So I think we'd be comfortable about that.
Thank you.
Good, motion is that we note the report. I'm just conscious of our time to note the report. Please. Thank you, you two.
Thank you. Those two on my list.
On the day, thank you. All those vote, please say aye. Brilliant. But we need to, I think, move at this stage into excluded. It's referred to the legal report. Seems to me. We are. Do I have a seconder, please? Thank you, Helen. Is there any debate on the motion? So one time I asked for the vote, no, I'll put the motion,